Okay. We're live now, and hey guys, played twice. Why did I play twice? There we go. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic podcast. I'm really excited about my guest today. He's returned. I think this is his fifth or sixth time on my show. He's someone I really look up to, and he really helped me out when I was when I was being attacked, And who that is Greg Yawakia. He's a respected Zuni elder, spiritual advisor, and the co-founder of One Nation Tribal Alliance. With a deep roots in Indigenous traditions, Greg shares ancestral knowledge to help people reclaim their inner strength, connection to earth, and spiritual sovereignty. His teachings fuse sacred wisdom with modern purpose, creating a bridge for healing, empowerment, and unity. Through ceremonies, teachings, and advocacy, he uplifts both native and non-native communities toward a path of awakening. And you can email him at yawakia at onenationtribalalliance.com. And the website is onenationtribalalliance.com. And I'd like to give him a big warm welcome back to the show. Greg, thanks so much for coming back on. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a while, but I've been, of course, we've both been busy, and I thought I was, done with everything, but you know, I have been really close contact with my elders, and they have been telling me, "You need to get this message out. You need to get this message out." And I said, "Okay, what is it? What is it?" And they said, that's why I titled it, discovering and cultivating your inner power, because really, basically, what they are trying to, I guess, address is what is going on out there. I mean, you turn on the TV, we just bombed Iran,
I
okay,
know. It's
and
crazy, right?
and
It's
yeah, and I was looking at Israel bombing Tehran. I've been to Tehran back in 1981 when those hostages were being released. We were there picking them up. That's when I was in the military. That was. But anyway, and it was a beautiful city, and the people were nice. I mean, they were respectful and everything. It's just that the regime and the I guess the people that are trying to control everybody, that was just trying to be rough. But I was there in 1981, and it was a beautiful city. But now I see them tearing it up, and that kind of hurts my heart because you know it is a Tehran is a beautiful city. But anyway, you know today I guess my message is discovering and cultivating your inner power. And as the elders used to tell me back in when I first used to start out my training, they asked me, "Chuapto, to skapin hoi, apisto yana." And I said, and my answer was, "Ho kapin hoi." And that surprised them. That answer surprised them because what they were asking me, translating it, is that, who are you? Are you an awoken one or an infinite being? And my response to them was, I'm an infinite being. And they looked at me like, okay, how did he get that answer? Most people say they're awoken because of what they have gone through in life and everything. But why do you say you're an infinite being? I said, because some of the things that are coming to me are beyond explanation. And so they said, okay, well, let's start training you. And the first thing they taught me was protection and cleansing, because of, again, my what I the gifts that I received, and for us to understand our inner power, you know, they also look at you and say, well, uh, do you know your strength, your powers, and your knowledge. And I said, now how in the world do I know my strength? I mean, I don't go out lifting weights or anything like that, or my spiritual energy. How do I know that? How do I know this? And and as they were telling me what the questions, it's really a question within a question, because it was the questions that I need to answer myself. And so, you know, understanding the inner powers, the strength and confidence you find within yourself, owning your mindset and decisions, recognizing your strength, believing in your abilities, overcoming your challenges, and all these things to help achieve your goals. And at 7 years old, I asked myself, what kind of goals do I have? You know? And they said, survival. I said, what do you mean survival? And they said, well, you've done conquered death 3 times. You survived. So do you want to understand why you survived those death 3 times? And I said, well, do I need to? And they kind of looked at me like, why you're asking a question within a question, and we're trying to help you understand why you are a survivor, but then you're asking us, why do you need to know about that? And so I think the more I ask questions like that, you know, they started thinking like this guy really has a spiritual life, because clarifying the concept of your inner power. They asked me that. How would you understand about, you say you're an infinite being. How do you know you're an infinite being? I said, you really want me to break it down? And they said, yes. I said, okay, you are an infinite being because, you know, in again, I study a lot of, I didn't study, but I learned and received a lot of information from various cultures. And one of the biggest cultures that I really enjoy studying from are the Egyptian, back all the way back into the Emerald tablets about Thoth, and then going up with that information, I kept saying that. Now, why do we? Who are we? And I said, well, we are the Trinity. Three things make one thing. One thing makes three things, and it goes on and on. It'll break it down thousands of. It's like a second geometry. The first zygote, second zygote, third zygote, fourth zygote, and it can go on forever to where it becomes a beautiful sign. That's what three things become one thing is, because if you get that three things up top, go into one thing, go back into three things, go back to one thing, and you start connecting the dots, it's your DNA strand. And I said, okay. So I told them the three things, first of all, is a trinity. Since we are from a binary universe, three things is Father, Son, and you. Because in alchemy, if you look at the symbol of salt, a circle with a line across it, Father, Creator, created you. Mother on earth, nurtured you. Where they come together is you. So three things, Father, Mother, and body, is you. Now, your body becomes one thing, which is you. Now, you say, me? I say, okay, what's the Trinity in me? The Trinity in you is your mind, body, and your soul. So, but then it becomes one thing, which is what? Then you go back to your mind. Mind is three things. Well, what is your three things? You look at your brain. You got your front, I mean your right, left, and you know, your front lobe, which is the middle. So you got three in your mind. And so you start looking at it like that, and it breaks it down. And your body, what is your body? Fluid, body, and what does water? When water moves around, what does it create? Energy. So that goes back to three things. Well, it just everything just breaks down to everything like that. But my main message about understanding your inner power is to help you understand that you know you have to be res- resilience in adversity without negative thoughts, words, or vengeance. Because you know, again, when we talk about uh, the seven per conscious level, the fifth one after your heart, which is I love. The fifth one is I speak. Why is I speak so important? Well, your language, your words are powerful because you're either speaking white language or dark magic. And so you know, and your thoughts, which is going into the seventh one, all the way to I know. Your seventh one is I see. It's not looking at it visually, it's when you see things in your mind, whether you're having a dream, a vision, or a quest. Those three things are spiritual visions. And so, you know, you cannot you cannot use your voice to be negative. You cannot use your mind, negative thoughts, you know, to be going through your mind towards people. You cannot, you cannot seek vengeance, you know, because you're actually throwing out, you're manifesting curses on people when you seek vengeance, because most of the time it's not that good. So to be within yourself, you got to take care of those three things: your voice, your thoughts, your visions, everything. You have to be in control of, because other thing is that you know personal, you know fulfillment and growth. Work on that. A lot of people says, "Well, I do work on my personal fulfillment and growth." What do you do? Well, I think I meditate. Then they come up. I meditate. I ground. And then I connect. So I said, okay. I try my best. I try my best to be neutral about everything, taking people's words, and you know, people have to understand that you have to be true to yourself to gain something. And this inner power that we have is all in our hands when we meditate. What are we meditating about? What are we doing while we're meditating? Other than sitting there in a lotus position, your eyes closed, and your mind is probably wondering also, is your mind, body, and soul in sync with what you're meditating for, which is what are you manifesting within and without. So, these things we have to look at, because now the other one is that you know we have to you know use purpose and structure in our everyday life. When we get up in the morning, think about, okay, what am I going to accomplish today? What am I going to accomplish? And the elders say, well, what are you going to accomplish? And then I automatically will say, well, I want to accomplish spiritual, something physical, and something to pass on. And so they say, okay, when you accomplish something spiritual, what does that look like? Well, I want to stay connected to the Creator, to Mother Earth, because that's our Trinity that we got to stay connected to, because the number one reason about this inner powers that we have, that you know I'm gonna get to it, but to protect and to understand your inner power is because the the essence you carry is being sought after by many of things, and by being sought after, a lot of people will say, well, how do I know they're coming after my essence? What is my essence? Well, your essence is your blessings, your gifts, your everything. Everything positive that you have is your essence. But they're constantly want to take it. And you know, being in the spiritual life all my life, I can talk to a person and say who is real, who is not real. And people would always tell me, well, did you know that person was lying to you? I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're lying to me, because they can lie to me all they want. Just don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself, because I'm forgiving. I can forgive. It's easy for me to forgive and forget and move on, because I'm not going to let it hold me back. So, personal fulfillment in your growth, and because you have to be an authentic individual. If you are a healer, you are a authentic spiritual leader. If you are a friend, you're still a personal spiritual guide or counselor, whatever. Because a lot of people will wanna that have problems will want to talk to you. Well, this is going on. That's what's going on. And rather than giving them any kind of advice, just listen to them. Listen to them, because some people may just want to get it out and end up solving their own problem, you know, after they talk it out, and sometimes it does take that, take talking it out amongst yourself. And, when I look at it, encouragement to reflect and personalize your own journey. Always reward yourself of little accomplishments you do, you know, not by boasting or patting yourself out in front of everybody, but just say thank you. Thank you, mother. Thank you, father. And to me, when we get to a point to where elders are telling me that you have accomplished this by doing this way, and they tell me, they say, how are you going to implement that in your modalities? And I tell them, I say, I don't like to change my modalities, because I am guided. I am not the healer. I'm just a vessel. It's the first thing. And so when people come to you and say, okay, I need I need to find out what's going to happen to me on my interview tomorrow. And I said, well, it's in your hands. You got it. What do you think is going to happen? Are you prepared? And they said, well, how do you know? What do I need to do to prepare myself? Well, first of all, what are you interviewing for? And whatever you're interviewing for, did you study up on that position, or even the company that you want to work for? You know, uh, Case in point, I used to do job placement, job development for people with disabilities. And I had one guy come up to me and says, man, I want to work for Dollar Store. I want to work for Dollar Store. And I said, you do? He said, yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to work for Dollar Store. I can just see myself working at Dollar Store. I said, okay, I want you to go back. Your interview's tomorrow. Prepare yourself. Find out a little bit of history about the Dollar Store, how it started and everything. And he said, okay. So the next day, he asked me to come to his interview. So I was in his interview. And, you know, one of the questions that was asked at the end of the interview was that, well, what do you know about Dollar General? Dollar General store. And he said, I'm glad you asked me that question, because then he gave him a history about in the Civil War. There was a general that always had a silver dollar in his shirt pocket. Well, one of the battles, he got shot. And when he got shot, of course, it knocked him down. And the silver dollar that was in his shirt pocket saved his life, because the bullet did not penetrate through that silver dollar. It just knocked him down. So he carried that silver dollar around. And so they started calling him Silver Dollar General. So the guy that started the Dollar General store chain started looking for a name, and then he talked to his grandpa, and his grandpa was a Civil War buff, and he told him about Dollar General, because the troops started calling him a Dollar General because that silver dollar saved his life. So I said, that's a good story, and I'm going to keep that. So he named his store Dollar General. The yellow Dollar General stores you got out here, that's the history behind it. It was because of the Civil War general that carried a silver dollar in his pocket and got shot, and that silver dollar chain, protected his life. And so when he gave him that answer, the manager stood up and says, "You're hired. When do you want to start work?" I mean, because that showed his interest about getting a job. When we start working on our inner selves, we need to show what interest we have on working in our inner self. And the way easiest way I could explain it is to keep ourselves in a higher vibration, to where we see what's going on and we don't want to be part of it. Because, the things that, you know, one of the barriers or several of the barriers that we come across in accessing our inner power is limiting beliefs. There is so much religion out here, so much things out here. You know, are you going to be able to believe everything or that you hear? You know, but how do you do that? And I tell myself, well, again, my teachings, if I teach you, I tell them, the first thing I tell you, my golden rule is, if it resonates with you, take it. If it doesn't, leave it alone. Because we all have different, ways of understanding. And so limiting your beliefs, limiting what other people saying. If it resonates with you, take it. If it doesn't, take it or leave it alone. And you know, common types of other common types of, you know, limiting yourself into your inner vibration is that, crowds, gatherings or events. There's you can go over to an event and you can have a wonderful time, but during that wonderful time, there are going to be others that are out there trying to steal your essence. And most of the time you're so busy enjoying yourself to where you let your guards down to where they can grab it. By grabbing your essence, you know, they got you. So, you know, understand where you're at. Understand your crowd. Understand your company, and survival of awakening and your unlimited beliefs is very, very important, because a lot of people in the seven conscious level, the first one is survival. In the chakras, it's root. In the medicine well, it's Mother Earth. And in the seven pure conscious level, it's I am. So when we start talking about I am, who are you? Who am I? start thinking about who really am I? So when you start working on yourself and start raising your vibration, from I am to I feel to I do, those are the three directions of the medicine wheel: south, west, north. I am is south. You need to know who you are when you connect with Mother Earth. You need to find out, where you stand in your spiritual life when you connect with Mother. Because when you connect with Father and Mother and you start meditating, things are going to start happening in your life. West, water is spirit. Why? Well, what is spirit? How do you know about spirit? And all this kind of stuff. And I teach a couple things of how you feel your spirits. And when I do that, and people actually feel it, they go, "Wow, wow, I felt it. Wow, was my strong." And there's only one person that I know of. When she done that, I could literally see the arc come out from this hand to this hand. Arc. She had a hand like this, and when she did it, you could see the arc, and that's feeling your energy. Why did that happen to her? Is because she had nothing else on her mind other than she wanted to feel her energy. She cleared her mind because when we are doing things like right now, I'll be talking about inner power. Your conscious mind may be listening, but what is your subconscious mind thinking? You're probably in a different place to saying, oh wow, well, he's talking about this. Man, I forgot to go gas up my car yesterday. And, that's in your mind, but your ultra conscious, your Christ consciousness, what is it thinking? We don't ever get to that point of thinking or Christ consciousness, the ultra consciousness. We don't ever think about that. Now we think about, it's normal to think about what's going on now, what we're listening, but our subconscious can be thinking about something else. And you're not receiving all the information all at one time. And this is where is it's really important for us to learn how to listen. Because when we listen, we can go a long way with it. And, practicing cultivating your mind is basically, or you're cultivating your inner power is basically mindfulness, meditation. Be at the present moment. You know, I can quote you. In the Bible, Jesus said, don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow we're not guaranteed. Don't worry about the past because it's happened. Learn from it and move at this present time. So when you do mindfulness meditation, be at the present moment, not tomorrow, not yesterday, this moment. Be at the present moment. Focus and stay calm and give clarity. Ask questions. Ask questions. And I tell a lot of people when they in my class, I said, there's no question that is dumb question. And if I don't have the answer, I'll get a hold of other elders and see how they think about the questions. So focus, calmness, and clarity is another way to practice and cultivate your inner power. And the last one is establishing a daily practice to keep yourself strong, to keep yourself healthy. And because, when you start talking about positive self talk and affirmations, you know, people think we're crazy. When you're awakened, you do that a lot. You talk to the plants, talk to the animals, talk to the bugs, talk to the trees, whatever. But that's you, because trees, animals, plants, bugs, they all have spirit. they all have a purpose on Mother Earth. So the other thing is, the power in language. Watch how you speak. Watch how you present yourself. Because when you start presenting yourself, you know, people will say, wow, either he's knowledgeable, he's very, comforting, he's very confident, and, you want to be able to communicate things at their level, not high level, but at the people's level that you're with, you know. So physical health and well-being is very important too in your inner power, because we have to take care of this avatar. We don't know how long we're going to be guaranteed on this earth plane, but our spirit is an infinite being, so we have a mission down here to where we're here for a reason. Let's keep this body healthy and well-being. So you know communication between your body and your mind is also very important, because sometimes your mind wants to do something, but your body says no, 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 no. So what do? Do you argue with your body, or do you argue with your mind, trying to get things done? No, just see what the common ground is and get there. Meditate, find out the common ground. You know, I tried my best to remain calm on every situation, you know, and people say, wow, you took that real good. And I said, well, for every action, there's a reaction. But when you react, be calm, because if you're not calm in your reaction, you're going to create panic among everybody else, you know. And so this inner self to me right now is very important, because what is going on right now, you know, leave it out there. If you can, go 2 days without television, and other than watching Rob's podcasts, but just go without television, and don't worry about what's going on out there, and see how your sleep pattern will change, because you're not allowing what's going on out there into your life. Just block everything out. If you have to go out and nature walk and talk to the trees, talk to the bird, talk to everything, and come back and see how different you'll be. Being a native healer, I have to keep myself, going on a daily routine. I don't have a schedule. I don't have anything other than people, when they seek and they come to me, I got to be ready for them. It's like I'll be expecting them when they do come. And what's going on out there, let's leave it out there. And the part that I really want to bring out today with you, with the people out here, is that, whatever we do in life, let's just keep it within ourselves. Let's not boast about it, because, boastfulness is really, not healthy. And in the native way right now, what I'm getting to now is that, I always talk about the Hopi prophecy. The Hopi prophecy being that third hand shaking. Well, when I tell people, I say, watch that video, third hand shaking, and see what you get out of it. And then when they watch the video, I say, okay, on the title, third hand shaking prophecy, what is the main word that grabbed your attention? And they're all saying prophecy, prophecy. I said, prophecy? Prophecy got my attention. I said, why? Because it's the future. It's a prediction. It's this, it's that. And I said, okay. And did the video support that? And they look at it and says, well, uh, they really didn't say much about the world ending in that Hopi prophecy. I said, okay, let me ask you the question again. What is the main theme or main word in Hopi prophecy, third hand shaking? And then I tell him, I said, my main word is the last word of that title, shaking, shaking. They look at me like, shaking? Why? Because when you shake somebody, what are you doing? You're awakening them, right? So what we are prophesied, what is prophesied in a lot of different cultures is not about what's going to happen. It's about how do you survive in what's to happen. Because right now we're going to go through a lot of changes. And where we at, Rob, we're happy. We got people that steal plants with horses, buggies, and all this kind of stuff, We see them everywhere. And, you know, where I'm at, the first time, we just got here, we're in a HOA to where, our mowing was supposed to be done every Monday morning. That's what they told us. I said, okay. So in the morning, here come the mowers. And you expect men to be out there mowing, 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 and all that kind of stuff. It was ladies. It was the Mennonite ladies with a lawnmower, weed eaters, and and doing our yard. And I'm saying that at first I didn't feel comfortable with it, but I said I have to learn to accept what is culture for them out here. Women work just as hard as men do, and
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nowadays it's more accepted, and it's weird even in those communities, Greg. Like they would always have women like in the kitchen. It seems like, but now it
yeah,
seems like in those communities it's becoming more, um, I guess accepted for women to do, work like that. It's good though. I think I think that's a good thing. It's a sign that like it's like an evolution. People are progressing with their thinking.
yeah. And the thing I really like about out here is that there's no barriers between a man and a woman.
Are you
You
in
know,
Amish country? Are you
yeah,
in? Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. You're in Amish
yeah,
country,
yeah,
Pennsylvania. I'm right over in
yeah. I
Pittsburgh,
am.
so you're probably like 4 or 5 hours away from me. I bet.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah, something like that. And when I see like you go into back country roads, like going towards Lancaster or Lebanon or whatever, you see a lot of these Amish young ladies on the bike, riding the bike, and they're so strong legged that I don't care how steep that hill is. You see them; they may be huffing and puffing on that pedaling, but they're going just right on up and go on next to you know. And
Yeah.
sometimes they have a wagon towed to their bike, and they either go grocery store shopping or whatever, and they got their stuff in the back, and they're going back home, with their bike and a wagon, pulling a wagon, or some you see some of these elderly women maybe going for shopping or whatever. They're driving the buggy, not the men, but the women are driving the buggy. But unless it's church time, then the men will drive the buggy to church, or when they're on their way to church. And that this shouldn't be a cultural shock to me because my mama used to tell me I used to grab the horses, tie them up to the wagon. I used to take the horse wagon, to another camp to where we do some work. Then I come back with that wagon, after a long day of working, and I'm saying, wow, But nowadays, we just kind of mixed up about things, and I'm glad I'm seeing a lot of this because the key word to all these is that survival, survival. I know your inner self. Find out who you really are. Find out who you are because we need to go out and survive because, technology. Out here we've lost internet a couple times, and it about drove everybody crazy. But I'm saying, well, what would you do if we didn't have it? The grid goes down, and you know what's going on the overseas. You know, I try not to keep up with it because I don't want to know. I don't want it to affect me. I want it to continue what I'm here to do, and not worry about what's going on over there. You know, I know it's devastating and all that, but you know, how are you going to take care of somebody when you can't take care of yourself? You know, and protecting yourself is very important. Spiritually, physically, because you've experienced being attacked physically and spiritually. Spiritually where it affected you, physically, but you learn to cleanse yourself. You need to protect yourself. You got people telling you, do this route, do that route. Yeah. If it resonates with you, do it. And when it works, keep it. Keep it doing it. Because, one thing is that you are a powerful, infinite being. And I'm gonna go on into telling you that, you know, One Nation Tribal Alliance webpage has got a couple things in there. One is about raising your vibration. One knowing who you are, what you what the purpose of you here is about. And second of all is that I am doing I call it a galaxy tour because right now there are people signed up for it, and I may have to do a second one back to back because I don't want it too big. The last batch that I took a while back, I had 20 people, and that was too big for me. That was too big for me because I couldn't do a lot of one-on-one teaching, and the reason behind being out there, like when we go to there's this time portal that I tell people about. I said, don't go in there, but you can sit right here and think about anything that might have happened in the past that you want to think about. You want to let it out, or trying to get all the pieces of the puzzle together. You sit out there, and in this one time portal, it'll come to you and it'll put that puzzle together for you. Even if you don't remember who or what, it will bring it out to you and will show you things that you went through that you don't remember, or things that might be happening that you're not aware of. It'll tell you everything. And the other place is where I tell people to clear your mind, clear your soul, connect with yourself, because when you do that, this energy will actually levitate you. I have people that I take pictures of with their camera, and they're levitating. And when they get up, they say, "Wow, that was neat. It looked like I must have dozed off or something." I said, "No, you're levitating." How long was I levitating? I said, "I don't know, about 5-10 minutes." When they
Wow.
don't, they said, "How do you know that? How do you know that?" I said, "Well, here's a picture of you, and you see them laid back, up about 3 feet high, on their back with nothing underneath it. You can go crawl underneath it and
How do
underneath
you
them
do?
because they'll be.
Oh, I almost dropped my coffee. How do you do that, Greg? How do you get to a point where you're like so like relaxed that you can actually levitate? Like,
It's called connecting
yeah,
with yourself, connecting with what the energy is all about. Because as these sunflowers that we had before the summer solstice, it affected a lot of people. Because
yeah.
the energy is getting messed up, and our energy, we are energy, and when it gets messed up, we get either confused, we're tired, or we're sick. We act like we're sick, but we're not. So when you connect with yourself, inner self, that's what I'm saying. When your inner power, when you connect and you reach your arms out, it's just like I tell people, when you want to learn your powers, let me show you something. And I give a lot of hands-on training to where they need to feel it. We got some Safaziel Safaziel frequency tunes. And one of the things that a lot of people say, well, how do you do the healing on that? Well, we work with your energy on that, energy healing using the Safaziel frequency. And I say, but if they say, how do you know it works? Well, I can get the one Safaziel frequency, which is the crown, ring it and put it over your crown, and you will actually feel it just go down your body. And people would just normally they'll cringe up. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I feel the energy coming up down through my crown, and so I'm scared." And I said, "Don't be scared. I mean, nobody's touching you. What energy are you talking about?" And that's when I start getting their attention, because when they feel it, even though they may not see it, when they feel it, they say, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm just got a tuning fork, just going over your crown chakra, and watch them feel it." And when things like this are, when you get into the esoteric realm of raising your vibration, the fifth, sixth, and seventh chakras, which is on the conscious, paraconscious level, which is I speak, I see, I know. Those are the esoteric chakras. You speaking, your powerful words are gonna make you visualize, make you understand, make you have control of your vision, to where when once you get to the I know part, you're going into the astral level where astral traveling is happening, astral this, all these things are happening. And the reason why when I teach about the chakras is because I want to start from the beginning. Your three earthly chakras. I know, or I am, I feel, and I know. Those three are the bottom. That's fire. I am, I feel, I know. Once you work to those three, you go into your heart chakra, meaning that you are being transformed. I love, you know, air, vibration, transformation. And that's where you start seeing a lot out of the ordinary. And, places like this back home on the Galaxy Tour during the day, I want to take you where the little people are. El Moro. What is El Moro? El Moro is, we call it the inscription rock, because Zuni was the first tribe that the Spanish made contact with. Every time they came out from Mexico doing exploring of the United States, they always stopped at Zuni, because in El Moro we had a watering hole where they could water their horses, fill up their fresh water with in their bags, and they could move on. And while they're out there at El Moro, it's got Coronado's signature on there, Pizarro, De Soto, all these people that came through Zuni, they signed the inscription rock, and it's still there. And that and then on the top is where the little people lived, because the doors are only maybe 2 feet high. And
Wow.
that's where when I take people up there, you start meditating, things are happening right there, because your energy is in a different environment. You're about, I would say you're about 8,000 above sea level. And the Galaxy Tour, the part about Galaxy Tour is that every night we're gonna be sitting outside looking at the stars. And I got this one app that I'll share with everybody, that really you just point out to the star, it'll tell you what that star is and everything. But right now in Zuni, I got a friend, and my sister told me there's a lot of, you know, UFO, or what do they call them? IAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP. They got a lot of activities going on right now. And one of my friends told me that they had flying saucers come over to the reservation in a Trinity, 1, 2, 3, set up to the reservation, and then they took off. Every
Wow.
night they'd be doing that. And the whole village witnessed it. So they got scared, and we have a galaxy fraternity. So they called upon them, and they came and they did their ceremony. And in that ceremony, they made contact, and they were told, "We're just here to protect you. We're here to protect you. You know, be prepared, protect yourselves." And they're starting to do a lot of things out there that's happening, and a lot of people are starting to accept these flying saucers to where it's like skinwalkers. Skinwalkers come, and it's so normal back home that if you see it, you leave it alone. You don't go try to chase it down and rope it and all this kind. No, you just leave them alone. You know, and this UAP that's going on, people just got for a while. People would videotape them, and I would always get a copy of the videotape because I tell them send it to me, and I get them and I look at them and I say, wow, it really is happening. Young kids to elders, when they go outside, they see something, they look at it, and they say thank you, because it's some type of a message that they're receiving. It's not bad, it's good, because they trust them to where they communicate with them, and so when it's good, you know, things are, things are changing, and I've talked to my Navajo elders, my Laguna elders, Acoma elders, Amish elders. They're all saying we need to really start teaching our people to survive, go back into self sufficiency, because you know Walmart's fixing to shut down. That's all they say, and everybody says no, no, not Walmart. But you know what if he does? What if he does? Went to Whole Foods down here, they hardly had anything. All they had was signs up there saying, some of our products haven't been, shipped out. And we'll hear later on that you know, the supplier got hacked. Their computers got hacked to where it just shut everything down. They just stopped, shipping food out, and everybody ran out of food. Whole Foods was barely, maybe had like about 60%, 70% filled, but most of the stuff that we normally get was not available. So what's going to happen? Well, that's why we start to do our own gardening, do our own canning, because who knows? And I'm
Yeah, I
glad,
wanted to
like I
tell you.
said, I'm in the
I was just
right
to say,
place.
like, about the growing your own vegetables. I think it's smart because I got what they said was an organic watermelon from the grocery store the other day. Yeah, this is a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because I like watermelon in the summer. It's really good for you. And I eat a lot of it with my diet and stuff. And what I noticed was the watermelon wasn't decomposing. Like, even though it was organic, like it wasn't. It sat like for some days I wouldn't eat it, and it wasn't like getting rotten. So I was like, what kind of watermelon is this? What are they putting in this? Like, either they say it's organic, but I think they're putting stuff in it to make it, like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you can't trust the food almost. You know?
Well, it's just like we have our own water filtering system here in the house, and I don't care if it's the city water or whatever. All these chemicals that are in it, and people need to be aware of the phones that we have. Look on the weather part, your weather, and look on the I guess the density of the air. Most of it most of the time it's really not healthy. It's unhealthy to, to watch yourself, to stay inside kind. And because of all, I mean, we look like it's clean air and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, all these chemicals that are out there, chemicals, like the coal. Where's that place where the ground is continually burning because there's a lot of coal that caught on fire and it's still burning for how many years? What is it bringing out? Carbon dioxide and coal dust that's burning, and we have a air doctor that runs in the house. Sometimes he'll come on real strong cleaning the air for no reason, but we know why, because again, this rain, if the rain comes the next day, go out to your car, you see like little soap spots in your windshield. You know, what is that soap spots? What kind of chemical is that? You know, be aware. Be aware of what's out there. You know, talk about a friend of mine, you know, know of a house where it has a well out there, its own water well out there, but that water that is pulling out from the ground is not healthy. It's not healthy to drink. And that person was told that he needs to put his own filtering system in there. And even with the salt water or any kind of filtering system, it's still bringing out nasty water. So,
Wow.
you know, be aware of things like that. Chemtrails, we live in a city right now. You know, I saw a list the other day of places you need to move out of because of what's going on out there. List of 10 major cities, and most of them are on the coastline, East Coast and West Coast. Philadelphia was one of them. I think it was number 4 on the list. Get out of Philadelphia before something happens. New York, Miami, get out of the cities before something happens. And we don't know. We don't know. I mean, they're warning us. But again, it all goes back to your inner self. If you listen to it, take heed. If not, follow your spiritual guidance. Follow your spiritual guidance. And my my tour is going to be on the 15th of July. And then if right now I got some people, if I get too many, I'm going to break it down. And my second one is going to be on the 22nd through the 25th. It's a 3-day tour. And people ask me, what does it cost? What does it cost? Well, it can cost you as much as you want it to be because, first of all, we have free campsites. If you want to camp outside and look at the stars all night long or whatever, we got free campsites. Or if you want to go into a bed and breakfast, there's going to be a bed and breakfast place about 25 miles away, and then there's cabins that I would tell you about that you can rent at that location. But we're gonna go to Chuckle Canyon. There's another place. VLA is the other one. Very large array where they film Contact with Jodie Foster. We want to listen into a space and find out what it's all out there, what kind of noises out there. And Chuckle Canyon we just passed the summer solstice, but every solstice there's a triangle shadow that comes with the Chuckle Canyon, Pueblo Bonito, and Mesa Verde. That's interesting. Why was it built that way? What's the purpose on that Trinity? The triangle, which is fire. Why is it pointing north? And, depending on how much time we got, plus I'm going to do teaching a lot of hands-on stuff that you didn't know you had. And when you realize you got it and everything, you're gonna change your ways about how you look at things. And again, all this is pay your own way. And you can sign up at onenationtribalalliance.com webpage, or just drop me a note, Yawakia at onenationtribalalliance.com, and I will find out which one you want to go on to and sign you up. And you know, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and see how we can get you out there to enjoy it. It's going to
That's
be a
awesome.
very memorable, enjoyable time. You know, and a lot of places, a lot of sacred sites that I want, special sites. I don't call it sacred, but spiritual sites that I want to take you. I want to let people enjoy levitation. Who they really are, because that's how they levitate. When you find out who you really are, it'll pick you up and hold you, because they say that where that place is where Mother Earth is caressing a baby, and you be the baby that you caress. Because a lot of people, when they get off that levitation, they say, "Wow, I felt love. I was loved. I found love." And I said, "Well, that's good. That's good. Remember that. Remember that feeling. Remember that special moment, because that's yours, not mine. Yours. You know." And do a little herbal picking out there for different types of medicine. You know, and understanding who you really are again. And that's that's one thing we do. And
That sounds awesome, Greg. It really sounds like an awesome trip. It really does. Like, I was gonna say, do you have time? Someone wanted to ask you in the chat, like, why these things show up in threes? Like, why do you think the Trinity, like you explained to Chuckle Canyon, is why UFOs also show up in threes? Because West Coast Patriot Girl in the chat asked, why do UFOs always show up in threes?
again, that's because Trinity, they're taking care of the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah,
Mind, body, and soul is what and Trinity and that's fire, that's energy rising up. And so when they come in threes, that's what, and that's not only in the UFOs, but also everywhere. It's threes. Like your body, you have three: yourself, your father's side, and your mother's side. But then you become one thing, which is yourself. Then it goes mind, body, and soul, and then the mind has three things, and then your soul has three things, and everything is breaking down like sacred geometry, and and you know Tesla, 369, you know the magical numbers, 369. So in a native way, it's because you know of how we connect: creator, mother, and then you. When you connect, and right now in this present moment, that's very important. You connect with Mother Earth, connect with the creator, and then you connecting with them, you get a lot of information from your connection. You understand a lot about yourself, and I want to say, I'm, I'll open up to say that, you know, if you have any questions, you know, webpage, onenationtravelalliance.com is a way for you to get your question answered. Or if you want to learn how to raise your vibration in more detail, step by step, so you can understand who you really are, how you can protect yourself, and how you can be out of the circuit, as I would say, because don't let these things that we hear. So that's basically all I got, Bob. Rob. You're fading in and out.
I was muted. Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, can we open it up? Can we see if the audience has a couple
Yeah,
questions for
yeah,
you? Okay.
yeah,
So if you guys have
yeah.
a
Go
couple
ahead.
questions, Greg, you can ask them now, because I know Kitsilio in the chat was asking about that. He said, was I taking questions? And like, I was waiting until you were done. I wanted to, see if anybody had any questions. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat now, and we'll get to them. And yeah, you know. Joyful Jennifer made a cool comment when you were saying about the three the mind, body, spirit. She also said brain, heart, and gut brains. Like as a three too.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
again, it's like sacred geometry. Once you tap into the first zygote, second, third, fourth, it breaks it down everything, even into their cells, the chromosomes, even into the meiosis, osmosis, photosynthesis, everything. It breaks it down where
yeah.
it takes three things to make one thing.
This is a good one from Nat Janoff. He says, "How do you cultivate more personal power?" He says.
How do you cultivate more personal powers? Is that, again, connection, connection to whatever your beliefs are. I'm not I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. My connection is Mother Earth, because we're walking on Mother Earth constantly. I'm barefooted all the time. Connection, understanding the Creator. Creator is the energy. I am part of that Creator because I am a creation from the Creator. So, your personal power is, how you do it is meditate, ground, and stay connected. Stay connected. And that's why I tell people, I said, when we start working on our own personal power, people think we're crazy because we end up talking not only to ourselves, but to everything else, because everything has a spirit. The plants have spirit. Go up to a plant and tell them, "Oh, you look beautiful. You look beautiful." I we have a bamboo right here. Last year it was only a foot tall. We keep saying, "Man, you're beautiful, bamboo. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. I mean, you bringing life to this room." I look at it now; it's over almost 4 foot tall now. It grew over 3 foot in just one year because positive energy that I keep throwing at it, and I say, "Blessing, blessing, blessing," and our blessings come in unique way. So to cultivate more into your personal power is to meditate, ground,
Yeah,
and stay connected. Not only the spiritual part, but also eat healthy, exercise, and get plenty of rest, because your body is part of your trinity: mind, body, and soul. And your spiritual practice would basically be, you know, understanding who you are, the power that you have, you know, and and Jats what Jat Nanoff, that the way she says her name.
it's
Anyway,
Nat Janoff. Yeah, he spells it backwards on Rumble. Yeah, his name's Nat Janoff. He's a musician. Yeah,
oh, okay, okay. Well, in the music world, learn about the Savasio frequency. Savasio frequency is the natural music before they started messing up the tones. Because, in music, there's 7 notes. Why seven? 7 chakras? Hello. And those notes are supposed to be whole notes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then it goes back to A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But to mess up the frequency, they started putting in B flat, sharp, C flat, sharp, and all these kind of stuff. They started messing out the whole notes of the Safazio notes. So if you can constantly play the whole notes of the Safazio frequency, that energy of the music will keep the vibration up.
yeah. And then this one was from Yippee. He says, or I don't know if that's a man or a woman, but she said, they said, hello, where again is the 3-day trip, please? She says,
It's in New Mexico. New
Zuni land.
Mexico. Zuni land, yeah. Zuni land. Because El Moro is in Zuni land. Ice Caves is in Zuni land. You know, and so everything is out that way, Four Corners area, because it's got a lot of history behind that Four Corners in Zuni land area. And
Yeah.
and then not only will we talk to Zuni elders, but I want to not talk to Acoma elders, Laguna elders, Hamas, and all that. So you can learn the same thing basically from different tribes of how we all work together as one, just like the Great Pueblo Revolt.
I
So
love that. And then he said, and then the second trip will be on the 26th, or
yeah,
that is that in October? Is it so?
no, no,
Is
no,
it
no.
1 month or
The
what? How do you?
second trip was no. The second trip will be on the 23rd to the 25th. 3, 4, 5,
I might
3 days.
try to come to that because, like, I think on July 15th, I'm going to be at the Full Disclosure Now conference. So I don't know if I'm going to, but I want to try to make it to one of them. I really would like to, I mean, that would be amazing, that would be, I would love that. Uh, Wait, I'll ask your question, Michelle. Michelle had said questions about the constellations. Go ahead, Michelle. You put your question in, and we'll get to it. Uh, Let me see here. Mm, Let me see here. I'm just waiting for her question. I know it was something about, but I wanted to read you this question while we're waiting for hers. This is from West Coast Patriot Girl on Rumble. She says, as a child, I had a reoccurring dreams of aliens trying to get me to help them fly their craft. Then there was always one on each side of me. Then it occurred to me that maybe I was the third. That's interesting, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because we do. Oh, we are going to see some hieroglyphs about the native alien contact, because we do have hieroglyphs of ETs on our ancient villages.
That's so
Like
cool.
the
Yeah.
like I told you about the little people, where they lived at. They got pictures of it that they
Yep.
drew of aliens that came and visited them.
Michelle wants to know if you have any thoughts on the triangulum being the house of God.
Okay, triangulum being the house of God is basically uh, this is the way we are taught. In my way, in Zuni way, we are we are part of the Creator, so we are the Creator, and the Trinity that we have is being created on this universe. Everything in this universe is binary, where it takes two things to make one thing. Whereas in our spiritual life or infinite life, we are just the part of the image of the creation, meaning that some tribes say God is female, some say God are male, but others say we are God because, like my tribe say, we are God because we are the image of Him. And the triangulum of being being house of God is basically saying that our infinite soul. Even okay, let me quote this in the Bible. In the Bible, in John chapter 14, Jesus was teaching his disciples and the disciple about the Father. He never called God God, by the way. He said the Father. Everything he done. So the disciples asked him twice, "Are we ever going to see the Father?" And in chapter uh, chapter 14, verse 20, he said, "I am in the Father. The Father is in me. I am in you. You are in me, and you are in the Father, and the Father is in you. So what did he mean by that? And before that answer came to me about it, I already thought back about my elders telling me, "You are the Father. You are part of the energy. You are that powerful." And see, and when I share about more about how powerful you are, I tell you, you are more powerful than the dark. A lot of people tell me, "Oh, the dark is always after me. The dark is giving." I had sleep paralysis. Then I said, "Oh yeah, during your sleep paralysis, what do you do?" Well, I try to wake myself up. I said, "Okay, what else?" He said, "I'll wait for people to come around, so maybe a noise can run them off, and I can wake up." And I said, "Okay, why did you not call upon your spirit, or your guides, or the angels, whomever? Because we have that power. We are that infinite being. If you can understand how powerful you are, psychic surgery. Thor said that which is above corresponds with that which is below. That which is below corresponds with that which is above, to bring that one thing magic. And as above, so below, bringing it the magic. And the natives, even I, when we do psychic surgery, I will hold my hand open like this. I will have a feather with your hand open. With that energy, I will bring that energy. And when I close my hand and I grab it, I will not move my hand. I will open it right in front of you. And you see the object that came out of your body come out of my hand. That to me is psychic surgery. Not telling you, "Oh, I did psychic surgery on this is what I," no. We are proving people in front of you. I've taken, you know, cyst out of people. I've taken, help people that may have, breast cancer, kidney stones. Lady has said here, his uh, X-ray had showed her that she had 3 kidney stones, quarter size, came for my help. I used my energy to crunch them kidney stones up. On the second day, she says, "Wait, wait, slow down, slow down. They're passing, they're passing." I said, "What are you taking to pass?" "Nothing. You're crunching them up and they're passing." Well, on the 5th day, she went to go to the doctor. The doctor took an X-ray and says, "What happened to your kidney stones? Who got them out?" And I said, energy healing. Our energy is more powerful. Remember, if you can allow your spirit to control the body will heal, because the spirit has to control the body, not the body control the spirit. And that's how you heal, you know. And that's why I tell people, if you're sick, don't say "I'm sick," because you're manifesting sick by saying "I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick." Remember how powerful your words are. You say "I'm sick," yes, you're going to be sick. But rather than saying "I'm sick," "I'm healing," "I'm healed." And watch people say, "Okay." So,
Yeah. Greg, your thoughts on like the people that say that, like, they say that in the Bible they say Elohim, and they think that Elohim might have meant the gods, like gods plural, and that that we're also an image of like the demigods, or like the god, like the Anunnaki or something like that. What do you think of that?
no. Well, when they talk like that, they're talking physical body.
Okay, yeah, like so we're
They're
like
they're
maybe.
talking about the avatar, but the spirit in this body is an infinite being. When we come to Earth, we come awoken. That's why control is comes into effect. You know, back when I was raised up, I was raised in breast milk. Because on a reservation, we didn't have much to where my mama raised me in breast milk. Nowadays, you go see a baby, see a mama shaking. I said, "What are you shaking?" Oh, milk. What kind of
That
milk?
formula.
Powdered
Yeah,
milk.
they're on that
Powdered
formula.
milk. Yeah, formula. And I said, what's in that formula? You read what's in that formula, you're gonna say, what? You already poisoning the baby.
Yeah.
You know? So we are being, from time we get out of that shoot, we are being tried to be redirected into their beliefs. Look at, education. You know, why are they telling us things like Christopher Columbus found America? Well, there's physical proof that there's Vikings that were here before Christopher Columbus, and all this kind of stuff, you know? And so, I mean, history is good, but the elders used to tell me, don't read the history books. I said, why? He said, because it'll have whoever wrote its opinion in that history books. But if you get oral history, you hear from this person and you hear from that person, if they are both saying the same thing to you, that's the truth. Because it's not being manipulated, it's just oral history is passed down. And that's how Zuni is. Zuni is all history. And you can go to their winter solstice event. And if you understand Zuni, it talks about from the time when that meteorite hit that Yucatan Peninsula. And when I studied more about the oral history of where we migrated from, I said, wait a minute, why did we go into that Grand Canyon in the beginning with the ant people, with the mantis? Well, it's because when before we went into there, we were living with dinosaurs. And people say, yeah, there's no proof of humans living with dinosaurs. I got my proof. Scientists discovered a footprint, a first old human footprint at White Sands Missile Range, and right next to them footprints were dinosaur footprints, and they both dated the same year.
Wow, that's
So,
insane. That's amazing. That's that's amazing. So we really did live amongst dinosaurs. Like that's
yeah,
that's that. Flix Love had a question real quick. This is the last one we'll do because I know you got to probably get going. I got to get going. I want to go out, get out. It's actually a sunny day here in Pennsylvania. It's been raining every day, so I want to go enjoy the sun for a little bit. I want to go get a run in. But Flix Love says, so is the spirit beyond the angelic level in a sense, or are we the angels? Are we angelic?
we are. We are angelic realm because, and the angels do not have wings or halos on them. Even though we say, when I died in 2017, I crossed over and I saw it's beyond description. I saw a bunch of these beautiful, beautiful things just everywhere. And I said, wow, what are those? And they looked at me and they said, those are Father's angels. I said, well, I thought angels have halos and wings on them. And they were the portal that I came through. They pointed down. They said, only when they go down there, because that's how they know them. When I looked down in that portal, I saw Mother Earth calmly, slowly spinning. I said, oh, wow. So we are angels in spirit. And, you know, again, when we cross over, when we go in, when the natives, even natives believe in angels. They call them guardians. They don't call them angels. They call them guardians, protectors. Because when the dark come challenges you, they're not coming alone. They usually have a thing. And see, there's a lot of the reasons the natives say that we're a little higher than a little bit of everything because even with the dark, if you look at it carefully, they said the dark, the fallen one, Lucifer, was once an angel, but he was a fallen angel. And he, before he comes after you, he has to inquire before he comes after you. But you don't have to inquire to defeat him. You just call upon the backup, and they're right there for you. Because that's why they always say, I will never leave you nor forsake you. In fact, those your guides are constantly hovering over you. All you got to do is call upon them, and they're there. They will help your spirit, not your physical body, but your spiritual body. Help it in challenging them. So
That's amazing.
that's
This is
my answer to
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, it
thank you.
goes further, but I mean,
Sorry. Go ahead.
anybody wants to talk to me. Well, just tell them anybody that wants to talk to me about whatever question they have. Get a hold of me at onenationtribalalliance.com on our website, and I will send them the Zoom link, and we can sit one on one and talk.
That's
You know,
amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in today. And, just a couple announcements. I wanted to thank Joyful Jennifer and Anchor Haven for supporting the podcast to, help me get my StreamYard paid for today. And then also, Michelle and Jay are having a show. If you guys want to go check them out, that'll be on Jay's channel. I think it's right after this. And then I'll be back tonight. I have Liz Cross coming on. She's going to mind probe Trump and Iran, and she's going to do readings for you guys. So that should be a good show too. So yeah, and that's all I have. And do you have any final words, Greg, or anything else you want to promote or talk about? Anything?
well, okay. I have my raising your vibration through chakra and medicine wheel class in our website. Right now, we got a special. You buy one class, the other one you can have for $1. I got mentorship going on. Mentorship costs $1.99, and if you get something out of it, donation will be appreciated. So uh, you can sign up at onenationtribalalliance.com website, and if you need to get a hold of me, it's Yawakia at onenationtribalalliance.com. That's YAWAKIA at at onenationtribalalliance.com. And I don't have the Galaxy uh, tour posted because the last time when I posted it, 20 people showed up, and that was a little bit too much for me to, you know, entertain at one time because the way if you come to this tour, you 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 there's no charge, but you have to pay your own way through everything, and you can average spending from $500 to $700 on things we're gonna do because food, because every once in a while, free camping. So bring your camp gear, sleeping bag, whatever, free camping. So um, once in a while, I like to go to a motel so I can get a hot shower, and before I run away to mosquitoes, you know. So, but
Yeah, that's me too.
again,
I'm not good with camping out. I gotta go to the bed and breakfast or like I'm not good in the tent. Let's just say that I'm a city slicker, so like I do better in the bed and breakfast. Not that I don't have anything against camping out, but I mean, I just probably do better in the cabin or the bed and breakfast.
and the best cheapest way on that bed and breakfast is if you don't mind cohabitating because the bed and breakfast that I point out to has like one room may have four beds, but you'll have your own bathroom, air conditioning, Wi-Fi, everything. So, and it's in the reservation. It's in the right downtown Pueblo Zuni. So you'll be sleeping where the Indians are sleeping now. So, anyway, but it's
Yeah.
very interesting place too. Good food,
I'm
good
going to
food.
try to come. If I don't go to full disclosure now, then I'm going to try to definitely come for sure or I'll try to come to the next one. But I mean, I'd love to see those sites. I think one thing somebody told me is that I need to travel more, and I'd love to start taking my show on the road. I'd love to get some live footage from out there, Greg, and stuff like that. And like that would be
Oh,
amazing.
we can. If you just go look on my YouTube website or YouTube One Nation Tribal Alliance, I talk about the Salt Lake. I talk about the Great Flood. I talk about a lot of things that I have, the Zunis document, the sacred, the spiritual places, the spiritual sites, places where there's a time portal, places where you can go levitate, you know, with your spirit, mind, body, and soul, communicate, where you can ground, meditate, and because you can feel your ancestors. And I'm gonna have other things like cleansing and protection ceremonies. And if some people want to have a naming ceremony, we can have a naming ceremony. I'm a tribal elder to where I'll give you a name. We'll get it in the books. That's your name. So I want to do other things, and most of it is again stargazing at nighttime. We can stargaze for a couple hours, and you'll see a lot. You can actually see satellites flying across.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And they can get a hold of you at onenationtribalalliance.com, right? We have it up on the
yes,
screen. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
thank you so much, Greg. This was awesome. And I'm going to try to make it. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. And that's it for today. And thanks, guys. And I'll see you guys tonight for the Liz Cross show at 8 p.m. Eastern. And go check out Michelle and Jay's show. And thank you, guys. And that's at
thank
Jay
you.
Skywalker's YouTube channel. That's going on now, I think. And thanks, guys. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.